Welcome to the Utah Puck Report. Here we are. We've got a lot of things to discuss today, and it's been a crazy week between everything going on with the Utah Grizzlies and the Utah Mammoth. And I kept trying to stay on top of everything as quick as it was developing. And it's funny, some people want to chirp me. They're like, "Oh, see, you said this and it didn't happen." I'm like, "Well, no, I said that yesterday, but today I said something else," because that's how fast things are happening, and people are just seeing, they're seeing the post a day later, whatever. So I figured, one of the best ways to talk about both the Utah Mammoth and the Utah Grizzlies is to bring on a good friend of mine, known him since birth, basically, since his birth, former Utah Grizzly Mason Mannek. Mason, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Always a blast.
You're kind of a co-host now. I think you, Evan Stofflet, and Jordan Parisi have been on the show the most. So
nice. Hey, I'm honored.
It's good to have you. I appreciate you always taking my call and being willing to talk stuff. For some of the people that don't know you, I want to talk a little bit about like your upbringing. Obviously, your mom and dad are some of my best friends in the world, and I got to watch you grow up. And you're from Harriman, and growing up in the Harriman area, you grew up in Utah, and then you get out of Utah. How old were you when you left for Colorado?
14.
So, I mean, that's kind of the basic answer, right? For anybody trying to get out of Utah, which that's another thing we're going to talk about, another thing we're working on. So you get out of Utah, you go to Colorado at 14. And what was that experience like at 14? And I know you got some pretty amazing people to coach you. Can you talk about that a little bit and some of that experience?
Yeah, for sure. Super life-changing, right? At 14, like when I see 14-year-olds now, I'm like, man, I cannot believe that my parents let me leave at that age. But it was great. Like I was super fortunate because the Fox family, I'm sure some of the people that listen to this know them, but they're from the Ogden area. I played with their son Bronson, and he came with me. And his mom, she was a flight attendant for Southwest, and so she changed her base to Denver, and so I ended up living with them the first year. So that made it the transition pretty easy, being with a familiar face. But yeah, then you got to deal with like the new school, new friends, new team, and it was crazy at first. But I think with the people I surrounded myself with, it made it easier. Then obviously, when you do something like that, you have to be pretty driven, and that's something I think that I was going into that my mind was on one thing and one thing only, and that was being a better hockey player. And I think that put all the extra shenanigans and extracurriculars that you can get yourself into, kind of put that to the wayside because, like I said, I had one goal in life, and that was to be a hockey player. So it was crazy, but it was good, and I wouldn't change it for the world because it definitely made me who I am today.
Yeah, it is crazy to think about that, and it's funny to hear you say that now that you look at 14-year-olds, you're like, wow. And your parents have always been super protective and supportive of you, and I think your dad knew from a young age, for you being younger and him being younger, that to get out of Utah, your dad grew up, your grandpa played, your great grandpa played, so it wasn't a surprise to anyone, right, that you'd have to leave at 14. But the reason I wanted to bring that up is just to talk about the lifelong sacrifice it takes. You leave the home at 14, and then when did you end up in the WHL? How old were you then?
My first year I was 17.
So 17 years old, you moved to Portland to play for the Winterhawks, and that's 3 years already that you're away from home, that you're basically behaving like a professional athlete every day. You're developing, you're working, you're sacrificing. There was that old, I don't know if you ever saw it, there was an old commercial with Sidney Crosby, and he's saying, like, this was my junior prom, and it shows him out. It actually showed him on the Shattuck St. Mary's tennis court shooting shots. And he's like, this was my senior prom. This was my senior dance. And it shows him out just on the ice working out. And he's like, yeah, I didn't miss any of it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I think, again, the reason I'm bringing all that up is because you were gone 14 through basically 20 years old. How old were you when you signed with the Grizzlies?
I think I was 20, maybe 21. So yeah.
So you're gone from 14 to 20, 6 years, 6 of the most developmental years of your life, 6 key years to be with your parents and with your family and your sisters, who were also troopers through this all the way. And now your younger sister's quite a hockey player too. But
Yeah, she's getting there.
yeah, it's just I want to bring this up because as what we're going to talk about now is the Utah Grizzlies going on strike. Not the Utah Grizzlies, the ECHL. The players from the East Coast League. Well, it's not the East Coast League anymore, or the Cheese Toast League. It's the ECHL, the PHPA, the Pro Hockey Players Association, which represents players from other countries, but also the ECHL and the AHL. The they try to make, they're their union. And full disclosure, I'm a big union guy. I'm a firefighter. And our union goes to battle for us, not just for wages, not to try to get us more money, but to get us safe living conditions. Because before we had a union, fire departments wouldn't pay for masks or air tanks so that guys could go into fires. Back in the day, they just would hold their breath or breathe in the brutal smoke and then, die 3 years after retirement. And there was a lot of stuff that the union had to go to battle for us to make it safer. And that's what the unions typically do. They get a bad rap, I think, when people just say they're in it for just, jacking up prices or whatever, because they try to bring a livable wage to every employee in whatever, whatever body that they're representing. So let's just start with when you signed with the Utah Grizzlies. Tell me about your first impression. Like when you go into the locker room, what was your first impression, and not like against your expectation, I guess is what I'm saying. What did you think it would be like when you walk in that locker room? You think you're going to have 20 sticks in the rack? Did you think it was going to be the NHL or and then what did it turn out to be?
That's a pretty funny question, actually, because that is a part of it that I did not expect. So coming from Portland, in Portland, like you are given the best of the best, whatever you want, whenever you want, and if you don't like something, you can get something different tomorrow. When I got to the Grizzlies, I knew it wasn't gonna be the same, but it's definitely not even close to that. Like, and I want everyone to know, first of all, I love the Grizzlies with all my heart, and I had the best time and the best experience with every single person there, every single person that worked there. I wouldn't trade my time there for the world. And but with that being said, when it comes to equipment and stuff, it was pretty bad. I don't think we got like a team hoodie until like March of that year. um, but not that we weren't given like what we needed, but like I guess coming from Portland, like the selection wasn't the same. But I know like the league had deals with Warrior too, to where we had to use certain stuff, and so that was a little bit different because like in Portland there was no deal, so you could use whatever brand you wanted. So I don't know like the business side of it as far as like what we were allowed to use, but I definitely know that there was some stuff you'd like to see a little bit better.
So I can tell you, I was with the Grizzlies for 20 some odd years, 27 years basically. They're giving me the shaft this year because I broke the story on them being sold. I don't know if you heard of that drama.
Oh no.
But my thing was I thought everybody deserved to know, especially the employees there. I wanted the employees there to know the team was being sold, because if they didn't tell them until the end of the year, it's a lot harder to find a job in a month than it is to find a job in a year, right? Like they have time to look around. That was my main concern. Plus, I'm supposed to be a journalist. I'm supposed to find this stuff out. So I found it out. I pushed it.
Job.
But in the 27 years I've been with the Grizzlies, that includes IHL, AHL. No, it doesn't include IHL. It was AHL and then ECHL. And I got to see the team deals. The team deals were, look, we're going to provide. It was brutal. When it was Reebok, it was crap. And I can say that because Reebok's gone now, right? But Reebok was crap. The gloves were crap. They were dangerous. The sticks broke all the time. And it was just crap. But the only guys that didn't have to use the Reebok were the 3 guys that were going up to the AHL. So you had exemptions for guys that, had the opportunity to maybe get pulled up or were drafted. And then there was one goalie that got the gear. The second goalie didn't get gear. And that's it got even worse. As the Grizzlies went along, guys would come in, and every Grizzlies fan is going to say, oh, that's what was happening. Because you'd see a guy come in, and for half the season, they'd be wearing white and red pads because they just came from Boston University or whatever, right? And the Grizzlies wouldn't be buying them gear. and they'd be wearing a mask that they wore 2 years ago in college or whatever. Goalies ended up scrambling to get their own gear quite a bit. It was hit or miss, and then there were times I would come in and I'd be with the team for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'd break a couple sticks, and I wouldn't get replacements. So not only are the Grizzlies the only team that didn't pay me, because they're supposed to pay me every day I'm there. They'd look for every chance to not pay me, but then sometimes it'd cost me money because I'd have to replace my own sticks. Wasn't always that way. Some of the coaches or some of the equipment managers would make sure I got stuff. But then I'd go sit the bench for one game with Kansas City and get 2 sticks. And $80 a game or whatever. So just to let people know, that's kind of what it was. Like sometimes I saw a lot of people online arguing about, oh, well, those guys are basically pros. They should be making 100,000. Well, that's not realistic because you want to make, you want it to be affordable for families. And some people saying, well, they should just do it for the love of the game. Well, it's not realistic either because you got to live. This is your job, and you're there at the rink, you practice, and then they're like, hey, now we got to go do this thing at this elementary. So there's more time demanded, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually so when I was playing there, I even worked for my dad doing electrical work like after practice and stuff. And I was pretty maxed out on time, and I think I even only made it there for maybe 2 or 3 days a week because you're traveling so much and preparing for games, and you're playing in like the third best league in the continent pretty much. And we're only 2 steps below the NHL here, so like it's a full-time job for sure. And yeah, to do it for the love of the game is it sounds nice and it sounds poetic, but like you said, it's not very realistic. But like I said, like to make 100,000 either, like it's not very often you see a building sold out either. So it's like there's definitely somewhere in the middle.
Right, and the Grizzlies are in a unique situation because they have a 12,000 seat building
Yeah.
that always looks empty when it's only got 5 or 6,000. But you go around the league, there's other leagues or the other teams in the league that have a 5 or 6,000 seat building and it's packed, but they're still bringing in the same amount of money. What did you think when you heard that the players might go on strike?
Yeah, so the first thing I heard about it was actually this summer. I played in like a little you were there, the little charity thing, whatever that was.
Oh yeah,
Um, that was the first time I heard about it, and I was kind of blown away. I was like, really? I'm like, I honestly, like, my honest reaction, and I'm not a part of any of those meetings and know anything about it, but I didn't really even know like the players had that kind of power to even pull something off like that. So I kind of just let it kind of blow over my head. I didn't really think anything of it. And then when it started to roll recently, um, I kind of read a little bit about it. I'm not like fully in the know of exactly what they were asking, but for the couple points that I did hear, I kind of agree for most of it. Like the equipment thing was huge. I think that definitely needed an up. I read a thing that like refs get played more or get paid more than the players, and to me that's kind of crazy. So if the players can make more money, that's good too. And like I'm obviously always going to be in favor of the players just because I was there and I understand the grind of it. Um, but yeah, kind of crazy. I just never thought the ECHL like that would happen. I literally didn't think the players could do that.
yeah, and it's gutsy because immediately a lot of the teams started looking at the SP and looking for former guys, and like
Right.
I got a few texts, hey, are you willing to come play or whatever, and I'm like, there's no way I'd cross a union line. I mean, that's again, union means a lot to me. But one of the big things was the travel. And I remember a couple guys talking about it. And I even remember games in my day, like even just as an e-bug, going to, like, especially when I was with Alaska. Every road trip with Alaska was a long road trip. And you're playing like 3 nights in 3 different cities and you're not getting any sleep in between. And then there's all this research that talks about, especially as a firefighter, but for athletes too, lack of sleep increases your probability of getting hurt like exponentially. It just goes up and up. For every like 15 minutes of sleep you lose, you go up like another 5%. And it's hard to sleep on a bus, and sometimes the teams didn't even have buses. We just had a couple vans. So yeah, it gets that was one of the main things. So I thought it was good. I thought it was gutsy because they are pretty unprotected. And a lot of the teams, like Utah's a right to work state, they could just get rid of their union guys. They could fire you for cause, and the cause would be that you didn't show up to work. And typically, in a right to work state, they can fire you for anything except for illegal reasons, such as age discrimination, stuff like that. But so gutsy for these guys to do it. They could have easily been replaced and missed out on their dream. Because for all of us, it's our dream, right? That's all we want to do is play hockey. So anyway, it was cool to see it. I thought it would last 3 or 4 days. It lasted 2 or 3 days. They hit at the right time, right before Christmas, so you had a little bit of a break. Unfortunately for the Grizzlies, they had a televised game. Like, when have you ever heard of them having a televised game?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah, for real.
so the one time they have one on the schedule, it gets canceled for a strike. So that
Oh,
sucked
I
for
didn't even know that.
them.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, and it wasn't on my channel, so I don't really care. But I do care. I wanted to see it. I was gonna watch it. I think it's awesome. Um, if the Grizzlies were sticking around, or if there's another team coming in, that game being televised could have opened the eyes to a lot of other new hockey fans saying, "Oh, the ECHL is pretty good.
That's true.
Like,
That's true.
I'll go watch it." And for me, I'll watch, I'll watch 15-year-olds play. I'll watch 12-year-olds play. I just like watching hockey. I like watching the creativity. I like watching kids have fun. I like watching grown men have fun. I stay after my games and watch other guys play just because, like, hey, that looks like they're having fun. Maybe, so
Yeah.
that's hockey, right? We all just love it. And so I thought it was gutsy. I'm glad to see it's over. They don't tell you what the deal is. They're not telling.
Yeah.
I've looked at every press release. I've looked at everything I could find, and I haven't found anything. I saw that it said on somewhere, on one of them, I've got it right here. It said they raised it to uh, each. So the average weekly wage now, instead of the average was 6 something, now it's 9.75. So you're still gonna have guys in the 500 range. DJ Gilletto posted on one of my posts. He said that in the 20 years since he's played pro, he started at like 410 and now it's at 510. So in 20 years, with the cost of everything that's gone up so much, players' minimum wage only went up $100.
$100.
So, and
Oh,
I mean,
that's funny.
it's hard to get that money to stretch, right?
Yeah, well, I remember when I signed mine, like coming from junior, where we were getting like paid, but it's technically like reimbursed. It was like $125 a week or something. And I think when I signed, it was, I can't remember what my first one was for, but then Ryan brought me in, can I switch, and he upped me to like rookie max. I think it was 580.
Oh,
And so at the time, coming from junior, I was like,
yeah,
sweet.
yeah, you're rolling in money.
But then your 580 after it gets taxed is basically crumbs, and there you go.
Yeah, union
So
fees,
yeah,
taxes.
yeah, that's the part of it that I would be happy to see the boys hopefully get helped out a little bit more on. But I don't know how long you actually want to spend on this. I did want to, like, going back to the travel thing and like playing 3-and-3s and stuff. I did want to say, like, I never felt like we were like getting sleep deprived, or like, I mean, like, travel's tough, but like that's a pro athlete. That's part of like the gig we signed up for too. Like, there'd be days like we'd travel and then we wouldn't have to go to the rink in the morning and do morning skate, and we could sleep in and kind of get our body right. So like, I think I just think it's in the middle somewhere. Like, I don't think it's completely wrong on one side, and like the players aren't like, we're not abused. Like, we're living our dream playing professional hockey too. So there's that part of it I just wanted to touch on. Like, I didn't want anybody to like think that it was bad in that sense either.
Yeah, it's not the 3-and-3s. It was the like, hey, Wednesday night you're in, uh, you're in Kansas City, and Friday night you're in Boise. It's those road
Yeah,
trips that
no,
they were trying to break up.
yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure. I mean, like, it's not ideal, but it's like, I mean, we did the same thing in Portland too, and then like nobody's complaining about it up there. And like, I mean, AHL guys, I'm sure they're not far off from that stuff. NHL guys do the same, but they fly. But it's like you're still traveling. So I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't think it's that bad. And like I said, like, we're playing pro sports. That's kind of part of the gig. So
yeah, for
my
sure,
opinion.
for sure. Yeah, you're right. So that's basically what I want to touch on. It's just that I'm glad they feel like they had a voice. I'm glad the union was there to protect them. I actually really loved all the travel that I got to do.
Yeah, like
Especially like
being on the
later on, like being like I had two babies at home and they're screaming and the Grizzlies call and they're like, or Idaho calls or Vegas calls,
yeah.
and they're like, hey, we need you to go on like a 6 game road trip. I'm like, yep. Sorry, baby, I gotta go.
Yeah,
Have have fun putting the kids to sleep.
that's part of it too. Like especially being out of the game for a couple of years now, like that's like some of the things I miss the most is like being on the road with the boys and stuff. So um, it's not all bad, I promise.
Okay. All right, so that's probably all I really wanted to spin on that. And talking about being on the road with the boys, the Utah Mammoth. That's what really everybody wants us to talk about. The Utah Mammoth are on the road. They've lost 2 straight. They're going into the Island. Island has a superstar first overall pick that's doing pretty well already this year. And so 3 games on the road real quick to start off the new year. January 1st in the Island. 2 days later they play the Devils. And I can't remember who's next after that, but I do have it on my
They're
notes.
the Rangers, aren't they?
Probably. It makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
So just looking at the Islanders, just tell me what do you think's going on with the Mammoth as a former pro player? When you look at it, what do you think's going on with them? Why do you think they're dropping games? And for the love of God, what's going on with the power play? Clue us in. Solve the problems, Mason.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that real quick. First of all, some positives. I think our bottom six is turning into our top six, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, our yeah, like the goalie situation is a little bit weird right now too, with everything going on. But like I said, our bottom six forwards have been the glue to this team this year. Obviously I'm biased, but my boy Karks has been on fire. He's had a great start to the year. Him and McBain been driving that line. Um, and I think that's what's getting them in the win column too, is like especially like that Pittsburgh game when they go down. It was earlier this month, but they go down 3 in the first period, and then our bottom six was claw back, and then it's the part about let's I'm bouncing around, but we'll go to the power play now. Um, this is and I played for Bear, and I'm in no way trying to like criticize decisions here, but this is part of the game of hockey that I don't quite understand because this happened to me in junior and playing with the Grizz. Not as much, but a little bit. Anyway, there was a stretch of games where our second power play unit, they had I think 3 goals in 4 games. And that's the second unit on the power play. If you're a hockey fan, you know your second unit on the power play, they're not getting 2 minutes power play time. They're getting anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds if they're lucky.
Yeah.
So to have 3 goals in 45 seconds, or sorry, 3 goals in 4 games on the second unit, I don't know why we don't just continue with the second unit and like starting them like right while it's hot. You know what I mean? Like if your first unit's struggling, why don't we not fix what's not broke? You know what I mean?
Well, they always talk about with goaltenders, you go with what's hot, right?
Yeah.
If your goaltender's hot, you leave him in. If your second power play unit's the one scoring, is it just because you got $30 million invested in the other one that you got to let him go? Like, you're right. That part doesn't make sense to me either. Because I would let him go. I would let I would sit Keller or whoever else that's not scoring and put the guys out that are clawing back in and getting gritty. I
Yeah.
mean, you mentioned Carcone. Carcone and Kraus and Yamamoto have been my favorite players this year. And they weren't last year. They weren't anybody's favorite players last year. I mean, maybe you guys because you have a personal relationship with Carcone, but they didn't fit in. And I don't know whose fault that was. I don't know if it was because of them or if it was because of the coach or because they didn't understand the system
Yeah.
or they didn't buy into the system. But they just didn't fit in. And this year, they fit in. They own it. They're the best parts of the system.
Yeah.
And to see how hard and maybe that's what it is too. I talked to the guys quite a bit, but I got to sit down with Yamamoto a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Tell me your best memory of hockey." And he's like, "Honestly, it was last year playing in the minors, having fun." Like I think if it didn't relight the fuse for him, it definitely maybe scared him, saying, "Hey, you don't want to be down here either." Like You know what it's
Yeah.
like up there, and you know what it's like down here. You've got free bagels in the AHL, and you got you know gourmet breakfasts when you get to the locker room in the NHL.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
difference, right? Paychecks are better. So
For
yeah,
sure.
like, and the other thing that's driving me nuts right now. Let me tell you. First off, I'll go over some power play numbers. Overall, Utah has scored 18 power play goals in 117 chances. That's 15.4%. That's 29th in the NHL. Uh, the New York Islanders, who they play tomorrow, 20 goals and 126 for 15.9%, so zero point 0.5 better, and they're 27th in the NHL. You know who the worst power play in the NHL is right now? This will blow your mind. The Colorado Avalanche. Who's
That crossed my mind, but I didn't dare say
Yeah,
it.
they score more goals per game than anybody else in the league right now, and they have the worst power play. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
They have the best players. One of the best power plays in the league is the San Jose Sharks, and it's when you watch it, it's almost like the other teams are just standing still. Like every power play goal you see from them is a highlight goal, and it just the puck movement creates that open. It's just a wide open net. They're basically Celebrini's just
Mm.
tapping in wide open nets at the end of it because the passing's phenomenal, and to go from one of the worst teams in the league to one of the best has just been incredible. So I want to get that part out of the
Yeah, I
power
think
play.
yeah, I was gonna say on the power play too, and I just think because I watch every game, and if I watch every game, then I know whoever they're playing is watching their games. It just seems a little bit predictable to me.
No,
Like it seems like like the zone entry is like always the same, and that's the part that they really struggle with too. Is like the zone entries always seems to be tough, like getting across the blue line. It seems it leads to a dump in, and then next thing you know, it's iced. And then when they do get zone entries, it's kind of the same puck movement, in
fake
my
slap
opinion.
shot
Like
from
it just
Keller
seems
on
a
the
little
right
bit.
side.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I hate to be the guy that like critiques these guys because they're the best in the world at what they do, but just watching every game, I kind of talked to like watching the last game. I kind of talked to my dad about that. It just seems like it's a little bit predictable, in my opinion. Which,
yeah.
when you have the best penalty killers in the world, it makes their job pretty easy.
Right, right. And you're right. And it's funny because that's one of the things some people have jumped on Bear about talking about, like players being predictable to each other. And I want to separate that. He's not talking about being predictable to the other team. He's saying that it's lines
Yeah,
gel when they can predict what each other are going to do, so you know where to pass. You pass the puck before the guy's there, right? So a lot of the
yeah,
times you have to know the guy well enough. And I think they keep hoping that the power play is going to figure that part out. But here we are. We're mid-season, man. We're almost through the Olympic break.
yeah.
And by the way, it's leaked today that Keller is going to make the Olympic team. It's going to be announced on
I
Friday.
saw that. That's awesome.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so and Team Canada leaving Bedard and Shifley and those guys off the. I I don't know,
Bennett.
man.
I couldn't believe Bennett didn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Bennett was one of the guys I really wanted on the Mammoth this year. I really wanted Utah to go after
Yeah,
him.
me too.
Phenomenal player. Like, how nice would it be to be Canada and leave a guy like Bennett and Shifley and Bedard and those guys off? But Celebrini made it, 19 years old. He's like the closest to
He
him is like
deserves it, man. He's a
26.
horse.
He's crazy.
Yeah,
He's crazy. It's
yeah.
it's it's fun. Um, the other thing that's driving me nuts, and maybe you can enlighten us a little bit. Why on earth would you take a guy like Yamamoto out and put spicy tuna in? I'm not saying anything negative about tuna. I'm just saying that's not the switch that I think you make. It's not like for like, that's for sure. And I don't think he brings the
Yeah.
physicality. I know he does hit, but I'd rather you've got the speed and you got the hitting coming from Carconi and McBain and Kraus. You're seeing hitting there. Why? I don't think you need Tuna in the mix. I think you put Yamamoto out and get that. He draws penalties. He takes a beating, and now he's
Yeah.
supercharged. He'll do whatever it
He
takes.
produces too. Like he gets in one every 5 games, and it seems like he's on the score sheet. Um, I don't know. Like it's hard to say without being in the room and like really knowing. But I mean, you wonder if a guy like that just kind of maybe keeps that thought in the back of other teams' mind, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go run that guy because I'll have to answer for it. So, um, yeah, I don't know. That'd be my guess though. But I agree. Like it's hard to deny like Yamamoto. He's pretty effective when he's in. So
26 games played, 4 goals, 5 assists. +5 and only 8 penalty minutes. Spicy Tuna, 21 games played, 2 goals, 1 assist for 3. He's a -3, 29 penalty minutes. I don't think we need more
Mm,
penalty minutes. I don't think that's what cost us the game against Nashville the other day. Uh, Bad penalties at bad times.
it did. Yep, it's true.
So
It's true. Yeah, that'd be my guess on the thought process of that is because obviously you're getting two completely different players, so they're not like substituting out for each other. Um, but I mean, you can't deny O'Brien definitely he puts a thought in the back of someone's mind that hey, I shouldn't be an idiot out here because I might have to answer the bell. So that'd be my opinion.
there is a different energy when he's on the ice too, and it's not even
Yeah.
just the fear factor. I don't know what it is. The team does play a little bit different when he's out there, and he's not a liability. I'm not saying that at all. He is minus,
No,
but
and
he's not
his job isn't to score goals, right? It's like
right.
it's not like so.
That's the other thing that a lot of people don't understand is, you know, there are a lot of different guys on the ice, and they all want to score goals for sure. They all want to score goals, but that's not all their jobs. And I've had
Yeah.
Trevor Lewis on the show a bunch of times too, and we talk about like he was a 100 point guy in juniors. It clearly wasn't going to work that way in the NHL, so he had to find a different role, and he found a great role, an amazing penalty killer, amazing at faceoffs, amazing at drawing penalties, and just grinding other guys out. So it's everybody's got a role, and O'Brien's got one. I'm just saying I don't think that you take Yamamoto out for O'Brien. I think there's got to be somewhere else that fits, but I'm not the
Yeah.
guy. The other thing I want to say, and I know you're a fan of Bear. I'm a fan of Bear. He gets better. The team gets better every year, and people keep saying, "Oh, we need to fire him. We need to fire him." I don't think we're there. Maybe you fire the assistant coach in charge of the power play. If somebody really needs to be put on the altar and sacrificed for not being in first place right now, which would have been a ridiculous thought anyway, right? Utah is
Yeah.
currently 18, 19, and 3. Uh, we're 1 point. We're one game. We're one win out of the wild card spot. So we're right where we're supposed to be. So I don't think anybody needs to be fired. I think Bear, they say the teams get better by 7 points every year for the past 6 years. There's only a couple other coaches in NHL history that have done that. So I think he's doing his job. And you've played for him. Like, you know
Yeah.
he's a developing coach. Do you think he's still effective developing these guys?
Yeah, I do, 100%. I don't think I'd ever without being in the room, I don't think I'd ever be the guy to say a coach should get fired because you really don't know. But having known Bear the time I did, and like you said, with their forward progression, it seems like they're making every year. I don't see a reason why you'd get rid of him. And it's not like they have a chance every game. It's not like they're getting blown out of the water. Like every game, unfortunately, they're on the wrong side a lot of 1 and 2 goal games, but they're in 1 and 2 goal games often. And I think if you asked the Coyotes that when they were bottom of the barrel for a couple of years, then they'd be happy for that. So, I think from what I know about him, I think I don't see a reason why you would change it up like that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you're right. The Coyotes fans would probably be like, "Yeah, we would take being one game out of the wild card
Yeah.
spot right before the midseason." Um, my prediction is they make the playoffs. We need Veggie to get better. Um, I don't know what his injury was. I love that they just say upper body. I love that it happened. It must have happened at morning skate, or something was nagging because they had to activate their e-bug, which is cool. I'm gonna have Colton on. It's fun. A kid that I've coached, kid that's come to our camp,
Yeah.
see him
That's a
take the
crazy
e-bug
story.
spot. Yeah, really awesome. The NHL is completely different on how they run the e-bug, so those guys are getting paid. He's a practice goalie. They get
I
money.
know.
That's dream job,
I
man.
actually so Bear's son JP, who I played with in Colorado, he was in town for Christmas, and so I went to a golf simulator with him, and we were kind of talking about it a little bit. And he's actually the e-bug for the Senators because he lives in Ottawa. But anyway, he was telling me about the whole situation, and I'm like, man, how would that be for that to be your job? Just hang out with the guys every day,
Yeah,
hang out at the rink, travel with them, make like decent money for a 21-year-old for sure.
115,000 I
That's
think
that's
is standard.
that's That's why I told JP, I'm like, well, if your dad's looking for an e-bug player, just give me a call.
Yeah, you can go out there and be one of the like they'll have the little tackle the stand guys that just stand there with the sticks so the guys can
Yeah, I
pass
could do
around it.
that.
I'd do that for 6 figures for
Yeah,
sure. All
yeah.
right, this has been like our goal is 28 minutes. We've gone a little bit over that, but I just wanted to kind of get through the strike thing, talk about the Mammoth. Um, what's your prediction? Playoffs or no playoffs?
I sure hope so. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes because I love them. But I hope they can turn it around soon.
Yeah, you're right. They're right there. The 1-0 game in Colorado is like that clues you in on
That
how good they can be.
that was the best game I've seen them play all year.
Yeah,
Like they had four lines and 60 that were on fire.
I thought the goal was in. By the way, that one that was in which Wood was playing? It was Wedgwood, right? When it was in
Wedgwood.
when it was in his glove the night before. Shesterkin had the exact same play, but his glove is white, and you could see the puck over the line. And they called it,
We
and then
talked about this. I was gonna ask you that as a goalie. I'm like, what do you think if he had white glove? Do you think that's a goal? I think
yeah,
so.
100%, 100%, it's a goal. And I don't know how they call it one night and then not the next night, but I can tell you every time that I've ever had a situation like that, it's always going against me. Like I never get the goalie interference. I never get we didn't
Yeah.
100% see it. I one time I made a save and had my butt end of my stick that was black at the time go into the net, and the ref said, "Nope, that's a goal." I'm like, but so I'm always on the wrong end of those.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe I'm still because I'm a Mammoth fan. I guess I was still on the wrong end of that. But anyway, Mason, thanks for chatting with us. We'll have to have you back on in a couple weeks. Maybe we'll get you and Karks on at the same time.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. All right, that's Mason Mannek, and that is the Utah Puck Report.